how do we really boost the quality, the actual success of new ideas inside our organizations? If you're a researcher, a CEO, a manager, even a policymaker, you know this isn't just theory. It's a constant puzzle. We often think, oh, it must be about individual genius, right? That lone brilliant mind. But what if the answer, or a big part of it, isn't just who you are, but how you're connected? Welcome to the deep dive. We dive into key research to give you that shortcut to being genuinely well informed. Today, we're looking at workplace networks, the hidden connections. Specifically, we're digging into some really fascinating research by Michael Gibbs, Friedrich Mengel, and Christoph Siemroth. What makes their study stand out? Well, unlike a lot of studies that use, say, patent counts or surveys, they looked at over 28,000 actual innovations, ideas generated by employees, evaluated by the company and its clients. That gives us a really solid, data-driven base. So our mission today: extract the crucial insights. Understand how connections shape innovation success. It challenges that lone genius idea for sure. Okay, so let's unpack this. The first big finding seems, well, maybe straightforward. It's about the degree of connections, basically. How many direct collaborators you have. What did they find about just the sheer quantity of connections?
Yeah, it's interesting because the precision is quite striking. What they found was for every single additional direct collaborator an innovator has,
Just one more.
just one more, the likelihood of their idea being accepted and actually implemented goes up by about 2.5 percentage points.
Wow, 2.5%. That sounds pretty significant, especially if you have several collaborators.
It is significant. Think about it from a CEO's perspective, evaluating projects or a researcher submitting a grant. That's a measurable bump in quality, in viability. It directly impacts outcomes.
Okay, but I have to ask, does just adding more people always make things better? The too many cooks idea. How does having more collaborators translate to better ideas, not just, say, more complicated ones? What's the mechanism?
That's a great question. It's not just about having more hands. It's about the diversity those hands bring. Think diverse expertise, different insights, unique skills.
Right. Different backgrounds, different ways of seeing the problem.
Exactly. Varied professional training, different knowledge bases, maybe access to different resources or data. It enriches the whole process. It's less about just more input and more about a broader, richer palette of perspectives being brought to bear on the idea.
And does this collaboration affect the creative process itself? Like before an idea even gets formally submitted?
Oh, absolutely. These interactions, regular chats, maybe structured brainstorming, lots of feedback, tackling problems together, they really stimulate creativity.
So it's a more dynamic process.
Completely. It encourages more robust problem solving. Ideas get refined, they get stress tested before they even hit the decision makers' desks. That significantly boosts their quality and, frankly, how appealing they are. It helps build a real culture of innovation.
Okay, this next part. This is where it got really interesting for me. The idea of bridging structural holes. It sounds, I don't know, architectural, but it's about organizations. What exactly is a structural hole, and what does bridging one mean?
Right, it does sound a bit technical, but think of it like this. A structural hole is basically a gap, a disconnect between different groups in an organization that wouldn't normally talk much.
Like, say, the engineering department and the marketing team, or maybe two different research labs?
Precisely. Different departments, teams, maybe areas of expertise. Bridging is when someone connects those otherwise isolated groups. They become the conduit for ideas and information to flow across that gap.
So you're the person who understands both engineers and marketers, and you can translate between them. Okay, so if you're that bridge, does that immediately boost innovation? My gut feeling would be yes, instantly valuable.
Well, this is where the research throws a curveball. It raises a really important point. Not necessarily, not right away.
Ooh.
The study found that initially, people acting as bridges might actually see a temporary dip in their own innovation quality.
Wait, hang on. A dip. So connecting people makes things worse at first. That seems backwards.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But think about the effort involved. Bridging means navigating different cultures within the organization, different jargon, maybe different ways of working, even conflicting goals sometimes.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like hard work. Takes time and energy.
Exactly. That initial effort, learning to translate, building trust across those divides, it can divert focus and energy away from perfecting the immediate idea. So there can be a short-term negative impact. It's an investment, not an instant win.
Okay, that's fascinating. But then why do it? If you're a CEO looking at quarterly results or a lab director needing quick progress, why encourage something that might slow things down initially?
This is where you absolutely need the long view. That's the critical insight for leaders, for policymakers. Despite those upfront complexities, the long-term benefits of bridging are huge. Those employees in bridging roles, they become incredibly valuable conduits. They spread new knowledge, fresh perspectives, different ways of doing things across the whole organization. They act as catalysts, letting diverse insights mix and spread way more effectively than they otherwise would.
So they're seeding innovation across the company, not just in their own work.
Precisely. And it gets better. The benefits aren't just for the bridger. This idea of positive externalities is key, meaning it spills over. The research showed that innovators who simply work alongside colleagues who are actively bridging structural holes, their own idea quality improves noticeably too. So the positive effects ripple out through the network. It lifts the whole boat, enhancing the entire organization's innovation performance over time, significantly and enduringly.
Okay, that makes the initial dip seem much more palatable if the long-term payoff is systemic like that.
Exactly. It's a strategic organizational capability.
Right, so we have these powerful levers, more collaborators, and people bridging these gaps, but the way we work has changed so much. What happens when you throw remote and hybrid work into this mix? How does that affect these vital networks?
Yes. This is probably the pressing question for so many leaders and organizations right now. And the research gives us some pretty clear, maybe slightly worrying answers.
Okay, let's hear it.
The shift to remote work, especially thinking back to the pandemic, but also ongoing remote setups, it clearly reduced both the size of innovator networks and their connectivity.
Fewer connections and maybe weaker ones.
Exactly. People working remotely tended to have fewer direct collaborators. And crucially, they engaged less in that vital bridging activity we just talked about.
Why is that, do you think? Less opportunity for those chance encounters.
That seems to be a big part of it. Those informal chats, bumping into someone from another team, those moments often spark connections across groups. Remote work makes those serendipitous interactions much harder. It restricts the flow of diverse ideas.
Okay, so remote work shrinks and disconnects networks. What about hybrid? Splitting time between home and office. Is that the best of both worlds, or?
You might think so, but interestingly, the study found that hybrid environments led to even more pronounced network disruptions.
Really? Worse than fully remote?
In terms of the metrics they studied, yes. Network sizes shrank even more significantly, and connectivity, including bridging, dropped off sharply. It might be the fragmentation people aren't consistently co-located, making coordination, even informal coordination, trickier.
Wow. So these changes, remote and hybrid, they're not neutral. They actively weaken the structures that foster innovation.
That's what the data suggests. Many organizations are likely seeing the impact on innovation quality, even if they haven't explicitly linked it to these network changes. It's a real challenge.
So for anyone listening, a CEO, a university researcher, a policymaker who's trying to keep innovation thriving in this flexible work world, what's the big takeaway here? What should they do?
The absolute key message is that you need proactive, intentional strategies. You can't just hope good networks will happen, especially now.
It requires deliberate design.
Exactly. Organizations need to actively build and maintain effective communication channels. They need to promote meaningful interactions regardless of where people are working. Think structured coordination, maybe deliberate team building that focuses on cross-functional connection, using technology smartly to facilitate not just meetings, but maybe more spontaneous interaction too.
So you have to actively fight against that network decay that remote and hybrid work can cause.
You really do. It requires conscious effort and strategic planning to keep those innovation networks strong.
Okay, let's try to boil this down. For everyone listening, whether you're leading a company, running a lab, or shaping policy, what are the absolute core takeaways from this deep dive, the things you really need to remember?
I'd say there are 5 critical points to really internalize. First, quantity matters. Seriously. More direct collaborators measurably boosts innovation quality. Remember that 2.5% per person? That's real. It pushes back hard against the lone genius myth.
Okay, build broader teams. Got it.
Second, bridging pays off long term. Connecting those separate groups. It might feel slow or difficult at first, but it leads to sustained major innovation improvements down the line. Think investment, not instant fix.
Patience and strategy there.
Third, it's a network effect. Those people bridging gaps, they don't just help themselves, they lift the innovation capability of everyone around them. That ripple effect is powerful.
So supporting bridgers benefits the whole system.
Precisely. Fourth, remote and hybrid weaken networks. This isn't just a feeling. The data shows these work modes can shrink networks and reduce crucial bridging. That's a real risk to innovation quality you need to actively manage.
A data-backed challenge.
Right. And finally, fifth, Be intentional. You have to design for strong networks in today's world. Deliberate strategies for communication and collaboration are essential, especially with remote and hybrid work. You can't just leave it to chance anymore.
Quantity, bridging's long game, the ripple effect, remote hybrid challenges, and intentional strategy. That's a really clear summary. So, reflecting on all this, what's the one thing that really stands out to you?
For me, it's the realization that high-quality innovation isn't this mystical individual thing. It's fundamentally systemic. It's about how we deliberately design and nurture our connections, our professional relationships. Building an innovative organization is less about hunting for superstars and more about cultivating that rich, interconnected ecosystem.
Yeah, it shifts the focus, doesn't it? And it makes you think,
Yeah.
okay, given this, how can organizations move beyond just reacting to things like hybrid work? How can they proactively engineer their networks to be stronger, more dynamic, maybe even more innovative than before? It's less about individual performance metrics and more about the health of the collective network. Definitely something for all of us to think about as we try to build stronger, more effective networks in our own work.